Hello, and welcome to my very first video I'm going to put on YouTube of chess play, and this is going to be a beginner's tutorial, really, for the experienced player. This would be a time for a beginner. This could be good. Okay, my name is Jane, and I will be happy to show you this. Okay, we have a regular chessboard here, a chessboard which is made up of 64 squares. Okay, and on each side they're going to have 16 pieces each. Okay, so they're all going to be fighting each other, basically. Once these pieces are set up and you have everything on here, the war starts. Okay, so let's start with the pieces and where they go and everything like that. Okay, what I'm going to do is set up the white pieces, and then I'm going to set the black pieces up, and that is a mirror image of what you need to do to set your pieces up. It'll be them staring right at each other. Okay, so we're going to start with light on the right, which is the white side. Light on the right is a very good way to remember where your pieces go and everything. So, light on the right, we're going to start with the rook. And we are going to discuss how the rook moves. The rook can move straight as far as it wants, backward straight as far as it wants, to the side straight as far as it likes, until something stops it or it takes a piece. Okay, or wherever you would like to stop. You'll see that more in gameplay. Okay, so your rook is light on the right, and your second white piece is up, light on the right. So do not forget that. Okay, so we have our knight on the dark square. Okay, as you can see, light square, dark square, light square, dark square, light square, dark square, and it does that all across the board. It's very mathematical, really, chess is. So then we have the bishop, the advisor to the kings and queens. Yes? Okay. So the bishop will go next to the knight. So now we have a rook on the light square, we have a knight on the dark square, and a rook on and a bishop on the light square. Okay. So we're going to put the king there. Okay, some people get confused on where their kings and queens go and everything. So let's just start with your king is going to go on this dark square right next to this bishop. Okay. Then we are going to put the queen right next to it. Alright. Bishop, dark square. So, as you can see, the pieces are coming in this order of just going from light square, dark square, and everything like that. So you have one light square bishop, one dark square bishop, one light square knight, one dark square knight. See how it's just going. Okay. We're going to put our light square knight and our dark square rook. So we have our rook, our knight, our bishop, our king, our queen, our bishop, knight, and rook. Okay. And what the knight does when it moves, as we already said, the rook can move straight as far as it wants until something stops it. It can move back in the straight line as far as it wants, to the side in the straight line as far as it likes until something stops it. Okay. Now what the knight does, the knights can be a bit tricky, and really they can creep up upon you, especially as a beginner. You do not realize that the knight can be so powerful sometimes. When really it's a minor piece. When you get up higher in there, maybe in some positions it is not, but right now it's a minor piece, really. So the knight can move into an L shape. So it can go how I used to remember it. Now the theory comes across to me. I used to say 1, 2 over. So 2 squares up, 1 square over. You can go 1 square over here. You can go 1, 2 square over here. It is suggested to develop towards the middle of your knight. If you develop your knight towards the end of the board, or at the very end of the board, it is not going to be able to control a lot of space. Okay. and that's how the knight moves in the L shape. So we'll kind of go over like a short opening, kind of an equilibrium opening, and I'll kind of explain the pieces and what they're doing, and just do your best to keep up. It's not going to be super easy to say, oh, this is exactly what this person said, but just keep up the best you can. So then we go to our bishop, which moves in a diagonal. It can go as far as it wants in that diagonal, frontwards and backwards. Okay? And as long as something doesn't stop it or it takes a piece, and it stops it or it takes a piece, obviously. So it can go diagonal as far as it likes, frontwards and backwards. The king goes one space at a time. The king really can be a weak piece most of the time during endgames when maybe both your queens, like when queens have been traded off, the king can become quite a powerful piece, but in the opening and everything, you really want to safeguard your king. So the king can go one square at a time, anywhere it likes, frontwards, backwards, anywhere it likes. Okay. The queen can do whatever she wants. She can go frontwards, backwards, diagonal. She can do everything all other pieces can do, except for what the knight can do. She cannot make an L shape or jump over pieces, which I forgot to say. The knight is really something that can jump over pieces, such as if you would see a knight fighting, doing all these crazy things and jumping over people and fighting and such. So, but the queen can do whatever she likes on the board, really. She can take whatever piece she wants. And that's what the queen can do. Alright. And then we'll discuss the queen side and king side here in a second. Right. These are your pawns. Let's shift the board this way. Okay. I have this stacked up on books because this is kind of ghetto. I'm sorry for the horrible good books though. Good books. Okay, get these pieces back there. Alright. Okay. Then you have your pawns, which you have 8 of them. So these are your 16 pieces going on white. You have 8 pawns that just go on the second rank, and we'll discuss that in a moment too. So you have 8 pawns going directly in front of all your more major pieces. Okay. And black's going to be set up the exact same way. And remember, I said a mirror image on the king and queens. So this is where some people might get confused when you first start playing. Is how should my king and queen be set up? And where should they be on? And we'll discuss that in a moment. Once I get all these scattered pieces on this chessboard. And again, I'm very sorry about the horrible video display I have on here. My webcam is not great, so just bear with me on that. Kind of just listen to what I'm saying. Okay. Everything is set up on the black side now. We have all of our pieces on. And the way you can tell if your king and queen are set up correctly is on white, I have the king set up on a dark square right next to my bishop, of course. And the king on black side is on a light square. They're looking right at each other, mirror image. Okay, and then we have our queen on a light square on white side. And then on the cavalry of our black side, we have the queen on a dark square, mirror image, staring right at each other. Okay, opposite colors. Okay. We have that on the task, okay, and then we will discuss the queen and king side, which is important to know, because if you're playing and you kind of want to think about it a little more and you're a beginner, but you do not know the theory very well, you can at least know that you're developing an attack or a defense on the queen or king side. Okay, so where the king is on the dark square on white side, this is going to be the king side. So if you cut the board in half, made it into 32 pieces, made it into 32 only for each side together, it would be king side here. This is king side, and where the queen is, where the very queen starts, this is queen side. So we have king side on the right, queen side on the left. Okay, now that we have discussed that and how the pieces move, let's go over some algebraic theory. I will not be writing out any theory to show you. I'm really just going to talk about theory and kind of talk about how to meet coordinates. And later in more videos, I will show when I have the right tools on my computer to really show this. This is a horrible way of showing chess right now because I don't have a little screen at the top showing me or showing everybody all the notation and the pieces and everything. So this is the best I have right now, but this could be very good for beginners. Okay, we'll discuss the theory. There's an old king's theory, which would be stuff like king's pawn 4 square, queen's pawn 4 square, knight 3rd square, king bishop file, knight 3rd square, king bishop file, and everything like that. And that was always cut up into the half of the board. So they would literally cut the board in half. Again, being geometrical, they would cut the board in half, and you would even say, if you're playing black, bishop 4 square, queen file, bishop 3rd square, queen file, sorry, and stuff like that. We will not be discussing that because algebraic theory is simpler, and actually in study I feel that it makes study quicker, but you can remember more instead of all these words, and you kind of can jumble them up sometimes. I know I studied logical chess, and I studied it in the manner of classical theory, so I was kind of mad about it just because then I started going to other chess books and everything, and this was all in new notation and everything, so every time I saw something I kept thinking in the old theory, and that wasn't good for me because it seemed longer. Now it's much easier, but then I was kind of like king bishop 4 file, king's pawn 4 square, king file, blah 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 blah, and then I would look at it and see like an F3, and like this doesn't make any sense. This is not the theory I studied. This is going to be notation. This is going to be algebraic notation. Algebraic meaning numbers and letters, of course. So you have 8 at the top of black's rook here, where I'm pointing, and it goes down to 1. So 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. And then you have A starting at white's rook here. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. So it goes 1 through 8, A through H. And how do you make these coordinates? Just like when you were in school and you were learning the multiplication tables and you had to see what an answer was for something. You basically meet them up right there. So if I said E4, when you say E4, that means your pawn on the, we discussed the ranks actually, the ranks and files. The files go straight across the board, and the ranks go side. Okay. So you have your E file, which is where your king is at, right? And then you have your 4th rank, which is right here. This is the 4th rank. So the ranks are your numbers, and the files are your letters. Okay. So let's say I said I want to E4. Bobby Fischer used to say E4. That's why I touched. Later on, when people realized that E4 was not usually the best, but there's a lot of things you can do with that as well. But there's a lot of good openings too. And Bobby Fischer, an incredible player, I think. So just a little bit of knowledge, maybe some things he said and everything he did. So let's say white goes E4, and you're not going to hear pawn E4 a lot because E4 in any chess player's mind is going to mean pawn E4, obviously. So when you hear E4 or anything like C4, B6, and there's not a letter in front of it or anything, it's going to mean that the pawn is just moving to that 6th rank on the E file or something like that. Okay. So pawn's going to go E4. Okay. And let's say black meets up with, makes it equal, and it goes to E5. Obviously going from 8, 7, 6, 5. 4. Alright. So now that we kind of got a way of pawns, we'll say E4, E5. And in notation, it's just going to say E4, sometimes followed by little points, like point, point, point. E5 is what black's going to be, and then white's going to get one little point. Okay, and those are kind of your pawns are going to sound, how they're going to move, especially in this new theory. In all the books, if you read them, it's what it's going to look like. Okay, and then let's say white would like to threaten this pawn and move to F6. So your pawn on G, or your knight on G1 is going to move to F6. And in theory, it's not going to say G1 F6. It is going to say knight, which is an N, to G6 or F6. I'm sorry. So white did that, and it's going to threaten this pawn right here. So we want to protect this pawn. So how are we going to protect? So black wants to protect this pawn right here. So how's black going to protect this pawn? It can move maybe its knight right here to C6. Okay. Just kind of try your best to follow along. Remember that. It goes 8 down, and then A through H across, or you could say it goes 1 through 8 up, and B through H across. It all is the same thing eventually. Okay, and you're just needing coordinates, like I said, like when you were younger, you were doing multiplication tables and everything. Okay, and then we have, it is white's reply to knight C6. So if we want to protect this pawn, and not have black invade with its knight, maybe we can go on where the queen is and go to D3, and that protects this pawn right here. These pawns in the center are very important. So that's kind of how that's going to develop. And remember, those knights make an L shape. That's why I'm using them as I am. So. Okay, so let's say it's black's reply, and it's developed with another knight. There's a rule, kind of a rule saying knights before bishops. So let's say this knight wants to go to F6. Alright, getting off the back ranks. Get your pieces off the back ranks. Do not use your pawns so much in the opening. Try to get pieces off the back ranks and develop a good opening sound. Try to develop your knights towards the center. Usually, especially when you're first starting out, you want to have that control in the center. They call these 4 squares in the middle of the sweep center. So, important squares. You want to really hold the center because you have more pull through the whole board like that. Depending on what position you're in, of course. But in the beginning, the center is very important. So, all right. Now we want to maybe develop a knight to C3. Okay. And right here we have a typical 4-knight standoff and everything. Basically, in 4-knight standoff. We have a 4-knight standoff right now. This is kind of a Sicilian defense. It's not exactly Sicilian defense, but this sometimes occurs in that. Okay, so we have that knight at C3. Now we can kind of start moving some bishops out. Alright, so let's take this bishop and we'll put it on E7. Okay, E7, and this will be castling quick. Alright, we'll discuss castling when we get to that. Thus is the reason I'm kind of developing these pieces in this way, so I can show you how to develop some pieces correct in a good manner and get them off the back range, move the castle quickly, fastening, very important. It's a safety measure for the king. Okay, so we have the bishop, and we're going to put this bishop on e2 right in front of the king, so very equal position right now. Okay, and now black is going to castle, which means this is the only time in chess where you can move two pieces at once. So we have the king, and it's going to go from e8 to g8, and then your rook is going to jump right over the king, and it is going to go to f8. And that's black's castle, and this is a very good protection for your king, and it helps you to start getting some attacks and start to get a little bit crazier and develop a middle game. In this position, I would not say I am fully developed at all in an opening, but I'm alright. Right now, usually when you see somebody else castle, sometimes, most of the time, the other person would castle unless they were in a very good position to where they did not need to castle. Okay, so then white's going to castle. It's going to move his king to g1, and then the rook to f1. It's going to jump right over, just like on black side. So now we have both sides castled, we have knights developed, we have a bishop developed on these sides as well. So knights for bishops. So far, this is a pretty sound development. Alright, so you want to get more of these bishops out of here, maybe, and like off the backgrounds. So we can take this bishop right here, and we can transport it to g5. Maybe you can throw a threat on the knight or something, right? Okay, and then we want to free this bishop on black side, so we want to maybe move a pawn to e6. Okay, and that frees that bishop. And in some cases you'll see the queen move, so we can connect rooks. It's a good way to connect your rooks. It's good to connect your rooks, especially when they're on the same file. The files are the letters, right? So we're going to say queen d2. Okay. Okay, and then we're going to have this bishop come out, and we are going to put it at g4. Okay, so black put bishop g4. Okay, and then white is going to take its rook on the F file, and it's going to put it on E1 where the king was. Just remember that. And black is going to set her king up on her queen on D7. She can connect her rooks as well as this. Again, this is a very basic kind of way, king side opening, really. So that queen's on d7 now, and then we want to connect some rooks maybe, alright? So I'm going to put my rook, which is on the A file, and set it on c1. Then I want to take on black and put this rook on the A file and put it on c8. c8. Okay, I did it kind of backwards, but well. Alright, now we have pieces developed. Everything's basically off the back range. You have your rooks here, kind of protecting the moment. Really, your rook's kind of helping the end game. Okay, so that's an opening right there. I hope I explained it as good as I could, or as well as I could. If your board looks like this, I have a horrible camera, I'm so sorry. If your board kind of looks like this, then you did pay attention. Okay, let's get another look at the board there. Okay. Alright, I hope I explained as well as I could that about how your board works, the squares on it, the pieces do, kind of a little bit of insight to algebraic theory, and that's about it. There's a lot of videos on YouTube that are probably far better than mine due to this horrible camera view I have, and you cannot see it very well, but maybe to listen to my voice and what I'm saying, it might help you. I don't know. I'm sorry. There's a lot of good videos you can watch on just basic maneuvers, basic things. There's a million game studies on there, classical games and newer games of newer chess players and everything like that, such as Magnus and Vichy and Susan Polgard, Kasparov. There's a lot of new players, you can study games from maybe a while back and everything like that. So there's a lot of good stuff on there. There's a lot of good books you can study out of. And that's about all I have. I hope I explained things well, and have a good day.